In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a big look at the weather happening around North America. We're actually going to be talking a lot about the Pacific early on in this video and how that's going to actually cause a very interesting pattern likely over North America here over the next 1 to 2 weeks. We have a typhoon out there that is going to bring impacts that you wouldn't really expect so far away from where it's happening. We're also going to be diving into the precipitation, which in my opinion looks more optimistic for the eastern states than it has in a while, especially areas in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast looking much improved. And because of everything we're talking about here, I do suspect that cooler air is on the way sooner rather than, well, at least much later. We're going to, again, have to wait about a week or two, but it will be on its way. So let's talk first off about everything you're seeing on your screen, because this is a lot more than we usually start out with. And I'm not going to draw any more on the screen because it'll probably get overwhelming, but this initial arrow that I'm circling here is your typhoon out there. And this one is expected to recurve and basically head northward. We get this interesting wave effect in the jet stream oftentimes when we see this recurvature of typhoons out there way out in the western Pacific. It causes a overall troughing lower pressure pattern to take place there over areas over the north central Pacific, kind of coming from Siberia, areas of Alaska down. And then we end up getting a little bit of a ridge to the east of there, oftentimes along areas in western North America and even areas over the eastern Pacific there. We call this a blocking pattern. And oftentimes, this also causes a pretty large trough over eastern Canada and into the central and eastern United States. I would say effects from west to east, starting with the typhoon recurving, takes place first. The lower pressure and trough here, moving from Siberia, happens second. The ridge over the west happens third, and then that trough in the east happens last overall on this kind of journey that we're looking at here. And actually, looking at the simulated radar underneath, we can kind of see this typhoon recurving, and then we can actually see this downward flow in this area take place. And then we can see the rising in this red area start to take place. And eventually, I went a little too slow there, but eventually we see the rising motion here, and then we'll actually see kind of a sinking motion here in the eastern states take place right there. So you can kind of see it all happening on the model run, and this is not something groundbreaking. This actually happens quite frequently with these recurvatures of typhoons out there again over western Pacific. It's pretty interesting that something like that has such a big ripple effect, because in the grand scheme of things, a typhoon like this isn't a huge, like, large-scale phenomena like things like the PDO or ENSO or other teleconnections are, but it actually acts as a pretty big disruptor in this type of case. And again, this does happen from time to time, so it's pretty interesting. And if it plays out kind of to the books like we see it happen historically, it would likely look something like this. Anyway, didn't want to get too deep into that. I want to talk more about our tropics, because we do have still hurricane now, Gabrielle, happening out there in the middle of the Atlantic. And thankfully, this one appears like it's going to be pretty well off to the east of Bermuda, which means it's, for the most part, not really expected to impact, well, anybody over land, at least not anytime soon. And by this point, it will likely be at tropical storm status and breaking up. This one might eventually head towards Europe as a non-tropical system, just kind of a rainmaker. So likely this one is a really good type of tropical storm to have that kind of doesn't really hurt anybody usually. Of course, you got to take into consideration that there is boats and ships out there, but this is one of the least impactful types of systems you can possibly get. And in the peak of hurricane season like we're in, we will take these all day, every day, compared to a landfalling system. You can see that we do have this yellow area down here to the south, and we did see this yesterday. It honestly looks like it's going to develop a little further south than Gabrielle did, but not too far off. And this one still sits at a 0% chance of development over the next 2 days and a 20% chance over the next 7. So fairly similar to what we were seeing yesterday. Before we move on, I do want to take a look at what the model is showing happen with this one. So I'm going to kind of let it play out a little bit here, but we see it start to develop. This is by the 23rd. We can see kind of some disturbances here just off to the east of the Eastern Caribbean, and it does start to impact some of these islands like St. Martin, the British Islands here, or sorry, the British Islands, the Virgin Islands, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands there, and then also some impacts to areas near Puerto Rico. This is a little further to the north than we saw yesterday, because yesterday's model run here, we saw Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and Haiti get pretty impacted. This one does move east of the Bahamas this time around, so again, pretty big difference from yesterday. And then it does get very close to the East Coast, but thankfully, as you can see, it doesn't really directly hit anybody. It does scrape by Nova Scotia here, not landfalling directly, but this is too close for comfort for many different areas. Let me put this back into white, but we can see areas in here kind of on high alert right now. Obviously, we just had model runs yesterday showing this one move into the Gulf, so that can't be ruled out any way either. So really, we're still just on high alert for pretty much everybody. We're going to have to wait and see with this one. Hopefully, fingers crossed, this one trends towards a recurvature, just like we see with Gabrielle here. That would be the least impactful solution, obviously, at this point. Let's go ahead and move into some of our other model guidance. Looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here from the National Weather Service, this is as of today on September 20th. I can't believe we're so far into September already. We can tell that it does overall look warmer. We have a couple of areas that look a little closer to normal, like the Southwest, some of the plains here, and even parts of the Mid-Atlantic and southern New England, perhaps. Obviously, the top hot areas here would be the Northern Rockies, Northern Plains, Upper Midwest, and then the deeper Southeast and deeper South as a whole, with kind of areas in the middle looking a little less hot. But really, this is coast-to-coast warmth. There's no way around it. There is no true trough happening here during this time frame. This is coast-to-coast warmth for the most part, with some warmer than others. Looking at the 8 to 14 day outlook, this is for September 28th through October 4th. They're still showing a very warm pattern, with the heart of it being over the central states, maybe a little cooler here for parts of the east or southwest, but I think this time frame could get interesting, and it could change quite a bit based on that typhoon. Again, could be wrong, but I am really kind of like sniffing that out. I feel like there will be a trough as a result of that. And even before that was really a factor, we've kind of been thinking that early October, maybe even late September for a while there, that something would be changing, but we'll see what happens, of course. Let's take a look at the past 20 days. So the first 20 days of September. And as you can see, it's been overall warmer for most of the west of North America, and overall cooler here in the eastern states, with more close to normal conditions here for the central states. Only 1 or 2 degrees departed from typical in these like yellow and blue areas. So very close to what's typical now over these areas. I know that the beginning of the month featured far below normal temperatures. The last week or more has been featuring mostly above normal temperatures, but that has actually balanced out to average, even though hardly any of your days were average. It was either well below or above. But again, averages just take the average of everything. So let's take a look here at the storminess, because again, this is pretty improved. By this evening, we're seeing some showers and thunderstorms across parts of the Midwest and plains. Really not that active around the nation, and we do expect this kind of inactive pattern to continue for a little bit. Monday the 22nd here, we can see 4 corner states up into the Rockies. Also, a lot of the Midwest, eastward into the Ohio Valley, parts of the interior, northeast and mid-Atlantic as well, starting to get some showers going. Also the deeper south, which really needs it. So this is more coverage of precipitation for sure than we've been seeing recently. Tuesday the 23rd, again, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast cashing in. I love to see this. These guys really need it at this point, so this is incredible news. The plains don't need it as badly, but they'll surely take it, I'm sure, so there it is. Looking towards Wednesday on the 24th here, we can see areas of the east to deeper south still continuing to get some precipitation. I would say this is good, not great. We're not seeing any like heavy, huge rainmakers yet, but this is certainly good and a vast improvement. You can't, this is one of my favorite sayings actually, but you can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And essentially what that means is, if you're just always striving for perfection to the point where good is no longer good, it's bad, then you're kind of looking at things the wrong way. I think good is good. So I love that saying. Small improvements every day is great. Anyway, I didn't mean to become a motivational speaker today for you guys. Thursday the 25th, here we're seeing more of the deep south and southeast. Mid-Atlantic and northeast is a little drier for Thursday. But by Friday, more precipitation moving into the mid-Atlantic there, as you can see, looking really good in these areas with showery, maybe even thunderstorm-like conditions. Saturday here on the 27th, again, the mid-Atlantic cashing in. The northeast could use more, but they do start to get some by early that next week. Monday the 29th here, we're seeing parts of the mid-Atlantic and northeast getting more precipitation with a little bit of an offshore, very weak low here. Really good news for all of these folks there. Going a little further towards Tuesday the 30th, something interesting happens. You can't see it on your screen, but way up above where you can see there's a low over the Hudson Bay, and it might have the same effect as a system between the Hudson Bay and Great Lakes, as we always talk about, but this one does have a trailing cold front, which we can see here, and above where you can see there is a warm front to the east, so we're seeing this kind of rising warmth, and then sinking cooler air moving in. And again, this is right around 10 days from now, kind of the time frame that we're watching for with this disrupted jet stream due to the waviness caused by that typhoon, at least partially. Wednesday, the 1st of October, we do see this pretty intense cold front swinging in. And if we follow the jet stream, this just looks way different than what we've been dealing with. We can clearly see a ridge over the west and a trough that is building over the central and eastern states. I think this is really good look for something like this, and this is now the second or third day in a row we've been seeing this on the model, so it's going from a little bit of a hint or a little bit of a signal to kind of, we can say the models are expecting this and really suggesting it. So we're going to keep watching this. I'm starting to feel more and more confident that this has solid legs to stand on. The typhoon helps for sure. The ridge over the west is expanding, and so is the trough over the east. I mean, this is really, really cold actually for a lot of these areas. We're seeing the blue pop up, and I would be curious. I'm going to switch us over to precipitation typing. Yeah, because we got some snow here over eastern Canada. It's very far to the north, but that isn't coming as much of a surprise to me because this is rich cold air in here. I mean, that is incredible for this time of year. As we keep going towards Friday the 3rd, a little bit of a low over the northeast, more precipitation, a little bit of cooler weather. Definitely helps things dry up a little less. So this is all looking good for you guys up there. I'm really happy about this, especially if we can get most of this to verify. Then we get into an interesting pattern. The ridge holds over the west. This is the long range, to take it with a grain of salt, but we start to see a low forming over the central plains, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri area, kind of between the central plains and Midwest there. We do get a little bit of a warm front wanting to develop here, and it looks like a cold front wants to develop as well. So we might get a little bit of a pushback from the warmth here in the east if a stronger low like this tries to develop. Over time, what we're going to see, though, is that this low starts to move northward. Warm front there, cold front is expanding. So we're actually getting cooler air trying to work its way in behind this one again. Likely this low would follow semi along the track of its warm front, would be what I would expect with this current jet stream, and that would allow for all of this cold air to pour back in. Let's look at the total precipitation, because we have really decent amounts for a lot of people. The most alarming still is these deeper south locations, but the areas that have been struggling with drought conditions like the northeast, mid-Atlantic, this is again good, not great, good, not perfect, I should say, which is good news. Overall, precipitation anomalies is very, very close to normal for most of these areas. Again, a fraction of an inch away from normal in some of these brown locations. And some of these blue areas are 1 to 2, maybe even more inches above average. We got those kind of sprinkled in for some of these areas that really, really need it. The blues popping up. So again, to kind of reiterate for these areas here, the drier areas in the browns are less than an inch below average. So we're talking like 1/10 of an inch to maybe about an inch below average. Most of this is between 1/2 an inch below average or less. The above average areas, though, are ranging anywhere from just a fraction all the way up to multiple inches. So this is really good news. The bad news is mostly for the deep south, where we are talking about potentially inches below average still for areas of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi. Alabama, Georgia, and Florida are a little less bad, but this area still needs some improvement. Looking at the temperatures on the European model again, we're going to be warmer for a while. There is some cooler air sprinkled in, but mostly warmer. And then right around actually the end of the month, right here on October 1st, is right when we're building into something like this. This is classic. I mean, we can see the warmth building out west and the cooler air just sinking down. There's no way around it. It's pretty clearly a ridge in the west, trough in the east pattern here, right around the beginning of October. And that gets pretty intense here. We talked about some rich, cooler air. The greens are 10 to 15 degrees below normal. Some of these purplish blues would be 15 to 25 degrees below normal. Certainly pretty far below normal. And then again, a low develops in here that features a warm front, cold front type feature. We can see this cooler air really building in that wants to swing around after that cold front is said and done with this low that would currently be over here. So I think we're set up for more extended periods of cooler air here at the end of this European model. It is the end, so take it with a grain of salt, but overall good news, as good as it could be at that range. GFS model, again, mostly warmer for the upcoming pattern, and then this one takes a little bit longer. Right around the third, fourth here, we see cooler air move in, but this one is in pretty good agreement. This is fairly similar. Again, a couple of days later, but definitely very similar to the European model. I would say the European model is a little bit more bullish with the troughing in the east, ridging in the west, but this is still really similar for how far out it is. So with all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.